My mother taught me silence was strength. I obeyed, swallowing pain until my father's apology shattered the illusion. That Thanksgiving night, I began uploading voice memos, screenshots, and diary entries, all proof of her cruelty. Today, Victoria Turner faces formal disciplinary action at the hospital where she works. I didn't scream, I didn't fight, I archived everything. Now she's exposed, and I haven't spoken a single word. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. When I was 8, I spilled juice on the carpet. My mother dragged me by the arm, called me disgusting, and made me scrub for hours. My father sat at the table, silent. I learned that love was conditional, that silence kept me safe. That night, I buried my teddy bear in the backyard, convinced I didn't deserve comfort. I never told anyone. Shame and compliance became my shield. That stain never really left. At 12, I won a poetry contest at school. My teacher called home to share the news. That night, my mother mocked the poem at dinner. My father chuckled with her. I stared at my mashed potatoes. Willing myself not to cry, I burned the certificate in the sink. Watched the edges curl black. From then on, I stopped writing. Love wasn't pride, it was punishment. I began hiding everything that mattered to me. High school, the abuse turned surgical. My mother critiqued my eating and my clothes, even how I breathed. I tried staying late at school, but she'd call the office and demand I come home. My dad handed me car keys once, said, "Just drive," then looked away. I didn't hide cotton. I began recording her tirades on an old phone. My resentment grew sharp, focused. I stopped trying to be loved and started collecting truth. One night she accused me of stealing her medication. I hadn't. She screamed for hours, blocking my door, daring me to explain. My father watched TV, volume raised. I recorded everything. Later, I slipped the pill bottle into her drawer. Untouched, she's planted the chaos. Needing a reason to punish, I realized then this wasn't misunderstanding. This was sport. Her control was sport, and my silence was complicity. I vowed I'd never let her rewrite it. Junior year, I tried therapy. She found the receipts, cornered me, and read my notes aloud during dinner. My father said nothing. I stopped eating for days. My therapist quit, citing safety concerns. I started journaling in code. I never trusted paper again. That week, my dad whispered, "I'm sorry," once, then backed away. His cowardice made my stomach turn. I wasn't just surviving abuse. I was surviving betrayal. Every word I wrote became evidence. College was my escape. I stayed on campus for breaks, told her I had work. She sent guilt texts, emotional essays about abandonment. When I didn't reply, she mailed me photos of the house empty. Dark, my father included a grocery gift card, no note. I blocked them both, but I kept a folder, screenshots, timestamps, her manipulation archived. It wasn't revenge yet, it was clarity. The myth of our happy family shattered each time she spoke. Graduation day. They didn't show. I walked across the stage, scanning empty seats. Later, she called crying, claiming illness. I didn't respond that night. My dad texted, "Proud of you," just that. I stared at it for an hour. Then I took a screenshot, not for memory, for proof. I no longer needed their presence to validate my worth. I was documenting my story, piece by piece. Every silence, every half-hearted apology, it was all going into the archive. At 25, I came home for Thanksgiving. She smiled too wide, poured wine too freely. My father hovered like a ghost. Mid-meal, she mocked my job, my haircut, my shoes. I set down my fork and said, "I don't need your approval." The room froze. My dad looked at me, really looked. He put down his glass and said, "Enough." Her face cracked. For the first time, she was the one silenced. I held my breath. She stormed off, slamming her chair into the wall. My father followed her into the kitchen. I heard glass break, low voices. I stayed seated. Minutes later, he returned, face pale. "She's not well," he said. I answered. "She never was." He nodded, slow, defeated. We didn't speak again that night, but he didn't sit near her either. Something irreversible shifted. The performance had cracked. We all saw her now, not the version she sold. The next morning, my father knocked on my door. He handed me an old envelope, photos from my childhood, drawings, cards I'd made. "I kept these," he said. I didn't know what to say. He sat on the edge of the bed, eyes wet. "I failed you," he whispered. I didn't forgive him, but I didn't walk away. We sat in silence. Not the old silence of fear, but a new one, hesitant, fragile, almost human. She avoided me for the rest of the visit, acting overly sweet to others. I watched her rehearse kindness like script. I realized then she didn't change, she just adapted her mask. But something inside me had shifted. I didn't flinch. I didn't try to please. I packed quietly, took one last photo of the family wall, my face missing from most frames. I left the house with my head high. I wasn't hers anymore. Back in my apartment, I opened my archive. Years of evidence, audio, text, letters. I uploaded it anonymously to the hospital's ethics board, not out of vengeance, out of necessity. Her public persona was polished, respected, but behind closed doors, she was poison. If she harmed others the way she hurt me, I had to act. My hands shook as I hit send, but I didn't regret it. For once, I chose myself quietly. Finally, I expected silence. Instead, the hospital launched an internal inquiry. Anonymous complaints matched my proof. A colleague emailed me, "You're not alone." That line hit harder than anything. I'd spent my whole life thinking no one saw, no one cared. Turns out, she's hurt others too. I wasn't just a victim, I was a witness. And now I wasn't carrying the story alone. For the first time, truth echoed louder than shame. My father called. "They contacted me," he said, "about your mother." He didn't sound angry, just tired. I told them everything, he added, voice cracking. I hadn't asked him to, but he stepped forward finally. Not for her, for me. It wasn't redemption, but it was movement. And for the first time, he chose a side. Not neutrality, not silence, he chose truth. That call ended years of pretending. I sat down and let myself feel it. Then came the news article. Her name, her position, and the allegations. She was placed on leave. The comments section exploded. Some defended her. Most didn't. I watched it unfold. Anonymous. Part of me wanted to reveal everything, but I didn't need validation. I had the truth, and for once, the world reflected it. She couldn't charm her way out of this. She was no longer untouchable. Her mask, shattered, lay bare for all to see. Weeks later, she emailed me. No apology. Just a cold demand, retract your lies. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to the investigation board. They replied within hours thanking me. Confirming continued inquiry, I stared at the screen. Feeling nothing, her desperation was its own confession. That cold tone it no longer pierced me. I wasn't her child in the hallway anymore. I was the narrator now, choosing which truths deserved daylight and which deserved silence. An old friend messaged me, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. I always thought something was off. She wrote, "I'm proud of you." It caught me off guard. I hadn't realized how many watched from the sidelines. Unsure how to help, my silence had been a barrier. But also a beacon. Now others were stepping forward. My story didn't just expose my mother, it invited others to reclaim theirs. The chain of silence had fractured. She tried to spin it, said I was mentally unstable, ungrateful. The hospital didn't buy it. A staff psychologist reviewed my submissions and declared them credible. She was suspended indefinitely. I received no formal acknowledgement, but that wasn't the point. Her words, once gospel in our home, now rang hollow. Authority had shifted. I didn't just survive, I dismantled her myth. Brick by brick, lie by lie, until only truth remained, and it didn't need her approval. My therapist asked what I wanted next. Nothing, I said, just space. I didn't crave revenge anymore. I'd spoken, been heard. My father still texted occasionally, short, unsure messages. I replied sometimes. Healing wasn't a movie. There was no crescendo, no applause, just quiet mornings, easier breaths. I started writing again. Not poems for her approval, but words for myself. My voice returned, not loud but certain. I was building a life outside her shadow. My cousin reached out, someone I barely knew. Your mom did similar things to my mom, she confessed. It was the first time I saw her pain as generational, not isolated. We weren't broken, we were silenced. Her story mirrored mine. We talked for hours, laughed even. Cain didn't vanish, but it stopped feeling solitary. My mother's reign had echoes, but now so did my truth. And truth, unlike trauma, had a way of bringing people together. A letter arrived, handwritten and marked my mother, inside 4 pages of justification. Blame and vague sorrow, no accountability, no ownership, just a carefully crafted illusion of remorse. I didn't finish it. I placed it in a drawer with the other evidence. Her words no longer held power. I didn't need her to admit it. Her silence had already spoken. The archive was no longer a burden, it was armor. I hadn't forgiven her, but I'd freed myself. I met a woman at a writing group, Sasha. She read one of my pieces, looked me in the eyes and said, "You survived something dark." I didn't flinch, I just nodded. She didn't pry. We became close, not in the way I feared, but in the way I hoped, careful, kind, real. She never asked for my past, she just accepted the present. And for the first time, I felt seen without needing to explain everything. During a group session, someone shared a story eerily similar to mine. I didn't speak, I just listened. Afterward, they found me and said, "Thank you, you made space." I hadn't realized silence could be powerful and healing too, not just in harm. I was in a cautionary tale. I was a lighthouse, the archive, the pain, even the rage, they were chapters. Not definitions, and I was writing a new story now, word by word. My father sent me a photo, a shelf of my childhood drawings framed in his study. No caption, just the image. I stared at it for a long time. It didn't fix anything, but it was something. Maybe guilt. Maybe love, maybe both. I replied with a photo of my desk, my latest writing. Sasha's coffee mug beside it. He didn't reply, but that silence wasn't empty. It felt unfinished, like maybe healing had chapters too. I gave a reading at a local open mic, my first public piece. It wasn't about her, not directly, but the room hushed. I felt it land. Afterward, a woman hugged me, sobbing. "You told my story," she whispered. I realized then my survival wasn't just personal, it was communal. I owning my pain, I gave others permission. I'd been silenced for so long, but that night, my voice didn't shake, it rang and people listened. The hospital issued its final statement, termination. No appeal, no retirement, just gone. Her years of reputation dissolved overnight. I read it twice, then closed the tab. I didn't feel joy, just a quiet end, the kind she never gave me. Some would say justice was served, but I didn't need that. I needed distance, clarity, and I finally had both. The weight lifted not because she fell, but because I'd stopped carrying her. Sasha and I planted a tree together in her backyard. She called it our begin again tree. I didn't laugh, I nodded. Watching it take root reminded me healing doesn't erupt, it unfolds. My archive, once my shield, now sat untouched for weeks, not forgotten, just it, no longer urgent. I wasn't erasing my past. I was nurturing something new, and it was growing quiet, steady, unapologetically mine. This time, I didn't bury anything, I let it blossom. Months passed, I got an email, an invitation to speak at a conference on emotional abuse and recovery. I hesitated, then said yes. On stage, I told my story not with rage but resolve. Afterward, people lined up to thank me. I signed books, I took photos, but most of all I listened. Survivors don't need saviors, we need witnesses. And I was ready to be one. The boy who once whispered in the dark now had a mic. The final twist, I mailed myself a copy of my own book. No pseudonym, no hiding, just my name, Michael Turner, in bold. It arrived a week later. I opened it like a gift. Inside, my truth, raw, real, unflinching. I placed it on my shelf, beside Sasha's coffee mug and the old photo from Dad. A life rebuilt, artifact by artifact. I didn't need their love anymore. I had something better, my voice, and the echo it created. Sometimes I still flinch at sudden anger or the sound of breaking glass, but then I reach for the notebook I carry, blank pages now filled with truths I choose. Healing isn't a rasur, it's layering truth over trauma until the shape changes. I'm not unscared, but I'm whole. Sasha calls it brave, I just call it necessary. My silence protected me once, my voice protects me now, and that's a kind of victory she'll never understand. I revisited the backyard where I buried that teddy bear, dug gently, found nothing but soil. Still I whispered, "You're safe now, not for the toy, for the boy I was." I didn't cry, I smiled. That moment wasn't about grief, it was reclamation. The ground where silence began now held my voice. Sasha took my hand, we laughed quietly, not escaping but leaving on our own terms. That I realized was the power of choosing the exit. A year later, I had dinner with my parents separately. My mother, stiff and guarded, offered small talk. I didn't engage. just observed. She knew she's lost access, not just contact. My father, nervous but gentler, asked about Sasha. I shared a he listened. That night, I wrote in my journal, this is peace, not perfection. I wasn't chasing apologies anymore, just clarity. My archive remains closed. Not erased. My story isn't about her now, it's about me surviving, speaking, and staying whole. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.